I am so lucky for having had the chance to love you. Thank you for teaching me to love myself all those years ago.
Kathleen McDonald's voice still breaks when she reads a letter she wrote to the companion she lost 2 years ago.
You loved me no matter what I looked like, and that, my darling Gretz, helped save my life time and time again. You broke through all the self-hate I had. You broke through all the pain and suffering, and you just kept showing me that day after day, life isn't meant to suffer as a result of the past, and I wasn't meant to suffer.
Her companion wasn't a boyfriend, wasn't a human. He was a dog, an unsightly dog at that.
He had been abused by his previous family. He had also been starved by his previous family, so he was like 30 pounds underweight. He didn't have a lot of nice fur like English setters do, and he didn't have many spots on him. And I was like, oh, he's really not that cute, but I adopted him, and he really taught me, like, it just doesn't matter. It was astounding how an animal could be so comfortable with their body, and yet we as human beings are taught to be so uncomfortable about what we look like.
McDonald had been more than uncomfortable with what she looked like since the age of 12.
I mean, when I looked in the mirror, I saw darkness, disgusting, ugly. I mean, I used to walk around with my hair like this because I didn't want the world to have to see what I looked like, because I had become convinced that I was so fat and ugly that, nobody should have to see that.
She maintained that view for 18 exhausting years. Then the Eating Disorders Coalition asked her to speak on Capitol Hill about her request for insurance coverage to treat her condition.
So I gave this speech, and at the end of it, I said, I'm afraid that I'm going to become part of the 2 to 5% statistic of eating disorder victims who take their own life. And as I'm saying that, I full well know that I've left a note behind in the hotel where I'm staying. It says, this is why I took my own life, and this is where you can find my body. And I'm giving this speech as if it's like totally commonplace to think about suicide. There were these 2 parents there that day who had lost their daughter to bulimia. And their names were Mr. and Mrs. George, and he was very emotional and took a hold of me and just started crying into my shoulder saying, you need help or you're going to die. So instead of that day becoming the day that I committed suicide, I went home and started my final recovery process.
That process was overwhelming. Her inclinations were as strong as ever, and that's where her new dog, Gretz, came in.
There was one time when I was just sick of trying to recover, and I thought, all right, this is dumb. I just should have, taken my own life. This is stupid. I can't do this. And so I was headed to the bathroom to purge, and he was following me, because he followed me everywhere. He was my Velcro dog. And I got really angry at him because all I wanted was to throw up. And I slammed the door on his face and told him to get the F away from me. And then I went into purge, and I just started bawling because I had just been mean to this dog who had counted on me to be his one and only human, because he had had a really rough start to life. And that was the last time I ever went to purge.
Gretz would live to go on many walks, on leash and off. He'd experience a multitude of seasons. He'd play games, beg for scraps, and tolerate what had to be tolerated. But more than anything, he'd soak in the good. McDonald would go on to become a director for the Eating Disorders Coalition in Washington, D.C., sharing what she'd learned from Ron and Sally George, sharing what she'd learned from Gretz.
Gretz, you showed me that even though you had a really horrible start to life, abused, starved, taken to be put to death versus taken to a shelter to be given a second chance, you showed me that in the blink of an eye, the past can be left in the past when you take a chance on love. I thank you for taking a chance on me, Gretz, and letting me be your human.
Gretz spent 12 happy years with a fully recovered Kathleen before he died. His younger siblings remain, and clearly his memory is very much alive.
May all the things you taught me continue to penetrate the hearts and minds of anyone who reads this, and may everyone always remember, it is a given you are beautiful because you are alive. He was a good dog.